I see the mountain, I don't go to the mountain, but the mountain comes to me, I become the mountain. I see a fish, then I become the fish. I become the fish. I see a tree, I become the tree. I see a flower, I become the flower. It's the art of metamorphose. And I can do this even without moving, just becoming. Here it is like meditation, like the philosophy of Zen or like yoga. You go inside in you and you begin to concentrate on your body completely and to evoke all aspects of life, all feelings you have. You become not yourself only, you become part of humanity. Mime is the identification of man with all elements which surround us. I say elements: fire, water, air, earth, and also with people, animals, plants. The man has to become what he wants to represent, and it's an art which has a very long tradition. It goes back to the Greek and the Romans. We know that there were mime dramas which have been written 3-4 centuries before Jesus Christ by Theocritus. Mime had a big tradition also in the Commedia dell'arte, so all the characters with Arlecchino, Pulcinella, Il Capitano, Brighella, Pantalone. Later, Petrolino, who was one of the characters of the Commedia dell'arte, has given life to Pierrot, who was the greatest mime of the 19th century. And Pierrot is a man with a white face, the black serre-tête, and the white souquenille, it's a French word for the costume of the Pierrot with the black buttons. And Pierrot, the greatest mime of the 19th century, was de Bureau, Charles de Bureau. And of course, we have mime in the 20th century in the silent films with Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, Stan Laurel and Hardy, Harold Lloyd. And of course, we have created mime in the theater. There was first Etienne Decroux, who was my teacher, Jean-Louis Barrault. You have seen the film Les Enfants du Paradis. And then myself, I have created the character of Bip. I think that the Pierrot was essentially belonging to the 19th century. And he was playing with a company, with props, scenery, and he was a romantic type belonging to his period of time. And the way they played with music, with conventional gestures, saying, for instance, my heart, I love you, my face, and being absolutely a mime through conventional gestures the public could recognize is different from the way we play today. I would say that Bip is essentially a character of the 20th century. Bip with a white face, which is traditionnel, the top hat in the flower, which is a symbol of poetry, a battered shirt, if you want, striped shirt, a small jacket, white pants, and ballet slippers, and he's surrounded by an invisible world he makes visible. He shows people, props, a whole world, and makes the abstract concrete and the concrete abstract. And he's like a magician, maybe, who makes appear and disappear people, things which are not there. Mime and music, mime and dance, mime has all a combination of that. There is music in silence, and that as there is silence in music. And that the movements of mime have a different technique than the movements of ballet. But both have a similarity. They are both visual arts and dealing with the man translating with body action all symbols, all actions, all dreams of man in life. Mime goes also beyond movement. It goes really deep in the human soul. It shows the interiority, the feelings we have, the emotions, even through immobility. And we can then feel the flow of time, like we feel it in music when we hear the sound. Mime is related also to graphic art because we draw in space what the dessinateur or the painter draws on a canvas. I started to draw since I was a child, and later it was part of my life. I wanted to become a painter. And I have done a book called La Ballade de Paris et du Monde, where it is a book which has been done with all the drawings, or part of the drawings, aquarelles, lithographies I have done these 10 last years, and which show part of my reflections and my dreams about life. And you see, I must say also why I've done this book, because beside the way I'm playing 300 times a year in all theaters of the world, in 65 countries, there are moments where I have a certain solitude, going from hotel to hotel, and I had the need of drawing on a piece of paper the visions I have of what I meet in the streets of people. Painting is you cannot be a mime and not love painting. It's like asking a musician if he likes instruments. Abstract painting is absolutely concrete for me. There is nothing abstract. I think that abstraction is emotion, vision, combination of lines and forms, and you can find anything in abstraction. Of course, there are good abstract painters and bad abstract painters, but of course, like in music, I'm open to any kind of music today. I think I want to be a man who is a witness, an active witness of his time, and will be classic maybe, because what I represent is humanity, which has lived also in Greece, in Rome, through the Renaissance, in the 19th century, and today. Of course, our life is different economically, and our thoughts are maybe different. But anyhow, I think that the style belongs to the artist, and as you can recognize Mozart, Beethoven through their écriture, or a painter, Toulouse-Lautrec was always Toulouse-Lautrec, and Daumier is Daumier all through his life. I think that Marceau, excuse me to speak at the third person, but in my art, I think that my pantomime de style will always be variations with a certain style which will change, but basically, you will recognize a fundamental still, and with the character of Bip, it is the same. This is why an artist has to keep a certain... He has to be like a circle, you see? He has to be round or square, but you have always to find his... sa main is his hand. Mime has to express the anxiety, and especially of man with his metaphysic problems, with his soul, or men in our time. And a cage shows a man with freedom, but being in a cage which becomes smaller. And then he wants to go out of that cage, and he enters a bigger cage. And the second time he does not go out. It's not pessimistic, but it shows maybe man which lives and dies in a certain time. And that we are all in a cage. And the cage is, of course, interesting, maybe also because it shows what mime can express, a certain dimension. To show, for instance, you see, to give the dimension of what is not there, and to give the feeling of space and a certain feeling of anxiety. And then time becomes like music. It has this, silence becomes music. what we call le point d'appui dans l'espace. For instance, leaning against something, I do this, and I lean against something, I take a glass of wine, I talk to people, I make them live. This is all part of our art. I think it's absolutely an international art. And this is why playing in Paris or Berlin or Tokyo or New York is like being in the same town and having the same people. The same reactions everywhere at the same moment. You cannot distinguish one nationality from another one. That means there are no English, French, American, Russian laughter or tears. You need to have a complete control of your body, and physically and mentally you have to be fit. You have to find the coordination of your movements and of your brain. And I would say that playing 2 hours on a stage is a marathon performance. Well, I have, for instance, a mime school in France now, where I give a very big importance to acrobacy and to fencing. Fencing because it's a very dramatic art. It gives time, speed, and a dramatic climax of what is unexpected. We must not forget that Marcel Mareau was at the beginning director of a whole company for 10 years in France, and put on 20 Mime dramas, like The Overcoat of Gould, like Pierrot de Montmartre, or Paris qui rit, Paris qui pleure, and became a character by his own, the one-man show, because I was a producer of my own company. Through my world tours, I put the money and put on shows with my company. And one day, we have put on Don Juan, and we were broke after that. The company was out. The Kafkaesque situations of men in our society, or men towards, attitude of man towards freedom, towards his destiny, is an old problem. It's Hamlet, to be or not to be, that's the question. It's Oedipus, it is Faust struggling against time. It is Don Quixote struggling against windmills. It is Don Juan struggling with love and the statue, struggling stone against flesh, la matière périssable against indestructible pierre, la pierre indestructible. If we speak maybe in 50 years, I want to live as long as possible. Then I think I will read, write. I'm writing a book on my life, but I will paint, and maybe I will be like Dr. Faust, not wanting to die. I would like the devil to give me 20 more years to begin my life again. But I hope not to make the same mistakes Faust did. That means that I hope that if I have to begin to live again, maybe I want to live a little differently. But one thing I'm sure, I think if I would not do theater, I would be a different man. And as the devil will not make out of me a different man, I will begin again in the theater.